Good morning and welcome to 755 Live, about 5 minutes of what Jesus said. These commands of Jesus can also be found at our weekday Bible plan at bible.today.church. Good morning, Jennifer. Thank you for checking in. And that's a good example. Please, if this is meaningful to you, it would really mean a lot to me. And it just helps us get the word out. If you like this, if you share it, if you comment on social media. These 755 Live segments are soundbite versions of the commands of Jesus to help us do what Jesus said to do, which was to go make disciples. And that's actually what the Jesus said is today. Jesus said, go make disciples. This comes from Matthew 28:19, but we're going to start in verse 18, where Jesus came up and said to them, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. So it was from that position, understanding that all authority in heaven and in earth has been given to Jesus. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, all people, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. He goes on to say, teaching these new disciples to obey all the commands that I've given you, and that He will never leave us or forsake us, that He's with us forever. Good morning, Carol. Thank you for checking in. Now, this wasn't some empty command. We have been given both the authority and the power to do exactly what Jesus said. And this command is very clear. Go make disciples. Now, I've done a lot of research about the original meaning and context, and I've come to the amazing conclusion that in the original language here, go doesn't actually mean don't go. It actually means to go. So why don't we actually obey this clear command? Somehow this seems to have become an optional part of following Jesus. And it's important to understand that if we are to go, that speaks of a specific time and place. If you're going somewhere, you have a time and you have a place. It's an action, not just a philosophy. Why don't we do this? Well, maybe it's because we've wimped out on what a disciple really is. Jesus made disciples, and what did those disciples do? They obeyed His commands and made disciple makers. We see evidence of that in Acts 2. As the early church, the Lord added to the church daily. How did the Lord do that? Well, through disciples who were going to make disciples. Why don't we see the Lord adding to the church daily? Could it be that we're not going to make disciples? You see, Jesus didn't disciple the crowd. Thousands showed up for the miracles and the free food and the great stories. But Jesus poured the truth of God's kingdom by example into a dozen ordinary men that would change the world. He did life with them, and they learned to do what He did. Who are we doing life with? Who are the disciples that we're making? And I must confess, for too long, I counted the crowd as disciples, but I wasn't actively going daily to make disciple makers. So first we have to accept that a disciple is a disciple maker and settle for nothing less. That's really the only the only metric that matters. Jesus never said, plant churches, build buildings, form organizations, change politics. Now, none of those are bad things, but are we making disciple makers? Imagine if Jesus said, go make pepperoni pizza, and gave us the recipe for that. What if we spent all of our time analyzing the recipe and trying to make it easier to follow? What if we made chicken Alfredo pizza because it was more popular? What if we built pizza places where no one really ever made pizza, but they just collected all the supplies and the recipe? Had Jesus said, make pepperoni pizza, that's what we should be making. And it would be easy to say if we were actually doing it because you could see the proof in the pizza. Well, Jesus said, go make disciples of all the nations. And the proof is in the pizza. Where are the disciples making disciple makers? We have no business spending all of our time trying to fix all of the evil in this world if we aren't obeying the very simple things that Jesus said to do. And He said, go make disciples. How can we put that into practice today? Well, it starts with go.